On the surface, life seemed perfect for the main character. A loving wife, two kids, a stable job, everything one could ask for. But beneath the picture-perfect exterior, something felt off. The tension in the air was almost invisible, but ever present. The smile on his face no longer reached his eyes, and the warmth in his home was slowly fading. In the midst of routine family life, a quiet storm was brewing, threatening to shake the very foundation of everything he held dear. But what was it? What was hiding just out of view? I've always prided myself on having the ideal family. Emma, my wife, is beautiful, kind-hearted, and the perfect partner. Our two kids, Noah and Lily, are bright and full of life, and we have a home that many would envy. My career is steady, an office job with a company that appreciates my efforts. We've built this life together, brick by brick, and every day I feel grateful for the comfort it provides. But something isn't right. Emma and I were once so in sync, but lately I can't shake the feeling that something has changed. Still, I pushed it aside, convincing myself it was nothing. After all, no one's life is perfect, right? It started small. Emma, once so present, began pulling away. Conversations that used to flow easily now felt strained. I'd come home from work and she'd be distant, almost lost in thought. Little arguments would spark over nothing, then fizzle out with no real resolution. At first I convinced myself it was just stress. Life, after all, can be overwhelming, but the unease lingered, creeping into my thoughts when I least expected it. I tried to dismiss it, tried to pretend everything was fine, but the silence between us seemed louder with each passing day. Something wasn't right, but what could it be? As if things weren't complicated enough, my job demanded more of my time. A promotion meant extra hours, meetings, and a growing list of responsibilities. I felt the weight of my career taking me further from home, but I told myself it was just a phase. Emma's distance seemed like just another part of the stress. Perhaps it was the new routine, the late nights, the early mornings, but something about her behavior bothered me. She'd be unreachable during certain times, and when I'd ask about her day, she'd give vague answers. But I was busy, so I brushed it off. The more I worked, the more I began to notice subtle shifts in her actions. Was she hiding something, or was I just overthinking? I was on a business trip when it happened. A moment of doubt led me to check the live feed from our home security system. What I saw froze me in place. Emma's car was parked outside our house at midday when she should have been at work. My heart began to race. I tried calling her, but the responses I received were vague, almost rehearsed. She claimed she had errands to run, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. My mind raced, filled with doubt. Could I trust what I was seeing? Was this all just coincidence? I couldn't make sense of it, but deep down, I knew I had to find out the truth. Desperate for answers, I called Emma's mother, hoping for some clarity. I asked if Emma and the kids were at the cottage, a place they often went for a weekend getaway. My mother-in-law confirmed they were there, but a small knot tightened in my stomach. Emma hadn't mentioned anything about a trip. Why hadn't she told me? The more I thought about it, the more suspicious I became. Had she been hiding something from me all along? I felt betrayed, and the tension inside me grew unbearable. I needed to know the truth. But what if the truth was worse than I imagined? I reached out to my friend Jake, seeking advice. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right, and I needed to confront Emma. Jake agreed to help, and we devised a plan. We would drive to the cottage and catch Emma in the act. Part of me wanted to believe in her innocence, to trust her as I always had. But another part of me, the part that had been ignored for so long, was desperate for answers. The drive felt endless, the tension between Jake and me palpable. Every mile brought me closer to something I wasn't ready to face. After what felt like an eternity, we arrived at the cottage. I checked the live feed one last time. Emma's car was still parked outside. My heart hammered in my chest as we approached the remote house. It felt as though the world had grown smaller, the air heavier. The quiet of the surrounding woods only added to the unease. I didn't know what to expect, but I couldn't turn back now. I had to know the truth, no matter the cost. The anxiety was suffocating, but I couldn't stop now. I pushed open the door of the cottage, my breath caught in my throat. There, standing in the living room, was Emma, except she wasn't alone. A man was with her, The shock hit me like a physical blow. Betrayal flooded my senses, and before I could stop myself, I exploded. "What the hell is going on, Emma?" I yelled. The man, looking equally shocked, scrambled to explain, but nothing made sense anymore. Emma's eyes were full of guilt and fear as she tried to justify her actions. Her words seemed hollow, empty lies that I couldn't bear to hear. Jake stepped in, trying to calm the situation, but it was too late. The damage was done. The trust I had once placed in her shattered in an instant. The drive back was silent. I couldn't process what had just happened. I felt numb, detached from the reality of it all. Once home, I filed for divorce. There was no coming back from this, no repairing the trust that had been broken. My life, the life I had built with Emma, was over. The pain was overwhelming, but I knew it was the only choice. The emotional toll of the betrayal was exhausting, but I had to move forward. I couldn't live in the past, and I couldn't pretend that everything was okay. I had to start over. In the aftermath, I've learned that trust is fragile. It only takes one moment, one discovery, to tear apart everything you thought was solid. Technology, once a source of comfort, became a tool of revelation, and in some ways, that made the betrayal even harder to bear. I've learned that honesty is vital in relationships, and that lies have a way of catching up to you. As I rebuild my life, I'm determined to never forget the lessons I've learned. Moving forward won't be easy, but I'm stronger now, and I'm ready to start again.